Surely each of you has seen the video with this man who is sitting and calmly eating his soup. So, if you thought that apart from these facts, there is nothing particularly creepy about it, then believe me, the scariest part actually happens off screen. Let me give you a small chance to guess for yourself. Look at his bowl of soup and try to understand what was originally at the bottom of it. This man and his whole family were kidnapped because he had stolen a large amount of money from a member of a gang. They were separated and put in different cells for 3 days. When those 3 days had passed, the gang returned him to his cell and told him that he should eat a little. They poured him some soup, sat him down at the table, and he began to devour it. After 3 days of starvation, he was so hungry that he did not even pay attention to the fact that they were dressed up as strange dolls and that he was being filmed. He diligently kept eating his soup, suspecting nothing, until he reached the bottom of the bowl. At the bottom, he noticed something strange. I would even say someone. So you do understand that for him to be able to eat the soup with its secret ingredient and not notice anything, he had to be extremely hungry. And if you still have not guessed what that soup was made of, then here is another clue. He never saw his family again. Surely you all have already heard about the cat named Chase No Face. Most likely you felt very sorry for her and thought about how wonderful it was that such kind people saved her. But as a rule in such stories, things are not so bright. She was only 4 weeks old at the moment when she was hit by a car. The car struck the kitten at such a speed that it literally scraped her face off on the asphalt. What happened to her bones and internal organs, I will not even mention. The doctors literally pieced her body and face back together, and miraculously she survived and returned to normal life. But if you thought that her suffering ended there, you are mistaken. Here is what happened next. Her owner created a personal blog for this cat on Facebook and began telling the whole world about her. Of course, everyone immediately became interested in what kind of faceless cat this was. The blog quickly grew and gained more than 100,000 subscribers. Not long after, the owner began dragging the cat to rehabilitation centers, supposedly so that a cat with such an unusual appearance could help people with similar issues to stop feeling inferior. And here comes question number 1. Do you really think the cat needed all this? After she had survived such an accident, I doubt it. And question number 2. Considering that we all perfectly understand how one can make money from such fame by having such a cat, was that accident really an accident at all? For example, on one of the darknet sites, there is a service like this. The services there are very different. And considering the cost of that particular service, I strongly doubt that it refers to some plush toy souvenir of Chase No Face. And of course, I am not claiming that in this particular case everything happened that way. But with 8 billion people in the world, surely at least one person would be capable of doing such a thing. You do understand perfectly well how PR works, even black PR. If your cat becomes like that and then gains popularity, it is you who will profit, not the cat. The cat at most will get some whiskers. So what if this service actually means that, for a certain price, your cat can be made the same way, by creating circumstances similar to an accident? If, of course, you agree to it. These are only my assumptions, but the thought that someone might come up with making money in such a way will not leave my mind. Surely all of you have seen those viral videos with the woman on the plane. This woman demanded to stop the plane because she realized something.
back there is not real.
When she accidentally saw his eyes, more precisely, his pupils. At first I, like you, thought that this woman had simply gone insane. But then I saw videos from other angles in the same airplane. And I want to tell you that because of that, I no longer fly on planes. Anyway, after this story, people began making a lot of assumptions about what had really happened. Recently, a video appeared with her friend who told the whole truth. What this woman's story was really about. The girl's name was Ashley. She boarded a plane, flying on vacation, already anticipating her trip. Next to her sat, at first glance, a harmless guy in a hood, settling in comfortably. She tried to put in her AirPods and noticed that one was missing. And at that moment something very strange began. The passenger sitting next to her in the hood told her that he had taken one of her earbuds when she tried to take it back. He said that he was going to bring the whole plane down. I do not know if he was serious or if he said it as a joke. But the creepy thing was not even his words. It was that at that moment she saw his eyes. And apparently, something about his gaze disturbed her so much that she jumped from her seat and ran off the plane. According to her, his eyes were inhuman. Maybe I am already losing my mind from consuming such content, but look closely at her neck. It does not really look like a necklace. It looks more like a mask pulled over her head. Perhaps in this story, she was not the victim after all. Not everyone took her seriously. But the plane still had to be stopped, probably because of company policy. And now the important part. When security escorted everyone outside and searched the plane, they really did find a threat on board. So it turns out that Ashley, who was on that flight, either simply guessed right by chance, or she really knew something and was telling the truth that someone did not want revealed. Because recently it was discovered that Ashley had gone missing. Her friend posted a video online where she explained all this and said that Ashley was telling the truth.
And he looked back at her and said, I am going to take this whole plane down.
She was not drunk on the flight and mentioned that hooded guys several times. And here is the strangest part. Lately there have been videos appearing all over the world of passengers on planes behaving in exactly the same way. According to them, they noticed something strange in the passengers sitting next to them. All of them panicked and tried to get off the plane. Of course, maybe this just looks like another trend. But since the videos feature elderly people and mature adults, I highly doubt that they were chasing Ikes. So here is my short conclusion. From this whole story, I no longer fly on planes. After this story, you will never again want to urinate in lakes or rivers, and maybe not urinate at all. In some southern rivers lives a creature called candiru. It loves the smell of ammonia, which is found in human urine. You probably already guessed where I am going with this, but I will continue. Recently, two friends decided to go fishing in one of the rivers of the Amazon. They took all the necessary equipment, pulled their old boat from the shed, and were already imagining what a great evening they would have. At the same time, the little catfish was imagining something else. The locals there do not fish with rods, but with their hands, because the river is shallow enough to simply wade in and grab fish swimming by. So they arrived. One of them went into the water and decided to have a little fun before fishing. A few hours later, he was already on the operating table. As you have surely understood, this catfish from the Amazon literally feeds on human genitals. The creepiest thing is that it is almost invisible because it is nearly transparent, and it is also hard to feel because it is so tiny. At the very moment when someone urinates, the catfish sneaks exactly to where it needs to go. Following the smell of ammonia, it swims inside, spreads its spines, and then stays to live there. And here, guys, comes the unpleasant part. For both men and women, since this catfish has sharp teeth. Once it enters the organ, it literally cannot get back out. It grips the tissue like a harpoon. So in most cases, to prevent tissue necrosis, doctors make the decision to remove the catfish together with the organ. Meet the horsehair worm. This creature lives in all kinds of waters. Lakes, rivers, basically anywhere there are insects, animals, or people. The principle of action is similar, but there is one difference. It is much thinner and looks more like a thread. So not only is it impossible to see, it is impossible even to feel. You only notice it when it is too late. So here is my advice. If you really need to go to the bathroom, better keep your gun in its holster until you get home. Now try to remember, has it ever happened to you that, when you had a nightmare, you woke up and still felt that it was real? Oh yes. Well, I have bad news for you. It was not your imagination. You must understand that dreams are essentially the same thoughts that are in your head during the day, only at night they feel different. This means that all the faces we see in dreams must exist in real life. But then comes the interesting question. Why have all of us seen this same face in dreams? Here is how it all began. In 2006, one psychologist asked a patient to draw on paper what was troubling her in her sleep. And when she handed him the sheet with the drawing, it was this face. The next day, the psychologist shared this drawing with his colleague. He said his patient saw this in her dreams. And then, you would not believe it, his colleague pulled out of his pocket the exact same drawing, which his own patient had drawn a few days later. It turned out that many people in that city were seeing the same face in their dreams. Some even tried to find this man in real life, posting his picture on polls. Those who saw him in their dreams said that it was not always in nightmares. Sometimes completely ordinary things happened. But this man was just standing aside, smiling, and watching them. The image was even given to the police, and they tried to find this person in real life. But in police databases, there was not a single match. And here is the strangest thing. This cannot be explained scientifically at all. As you remember, all the faces we see in dreams must exist in reality, because our brain cannot invent them out of nothing. But then why can this man not be found, even if somehow our brain invented this face? Why did several dozens of people invent it at the same time? Well, on this wonderful note, I say goodbye to you. I hope you will be able to sleep tonight.